As a report author, once you have your report the way you like it, there's some additional options to set up and just make it a little more visually appealing. I have a report built here. If I click on the eyeball, I can generate some values and preview my report. In this case, I see I've created a lot of boxes around it just to show you where things move and how they're laid out. So in this case, I have this spanning 2 rows, but for the most part, I just have things boxed up so you can visualize it. As I go to my page setup options, I click on page setup here. I can change the left padding, the left-right margin, the right padding. So let's just see some of these display. It says it defaults to 0.5 inches. I'm going to default it to 2 inches. We will start to, or we should, see the report change, and probably not in an extremely positive way. So it's going to scoot in those margins, so you can see that this is compressed in the center. So we have margins on each side, and it just doesn't look all that well. But you can, if you need to, compress those margins. Usually, clients are extending the margin. It defaults to 0.5 inches. Maybe we want to default it to 0.1. So we can see how that changes in the page setup. So I'm doing a lot of previewing. I'm sorry for all the clicking. But you can see now the report should have extended wider on each side. Maybe you need more real estate for your graphs and your information to show up correctly. You can always take the defaults. There's no harm in taking any of the defaults, but you do have the ability to change it. And we try to let you know what it's going to default to. The padding is within the margin, so we put a little extra padding within the margin just so it's not right up next to it. It's very common in layouts that you have padding around this. But if you don't want this padding here, just set it to 0 and it'll go away. Let's say you're printing out certificates. You might want a landscape orientation to your report. And I'm not sure with the report I've built how nice this is going to look, but you can just see how it's going to change from a portrait to a landscape format. So in this case, we had it standing up. Now it's on its side, so some of the report, the page breaks don't look right anymore, but this page might look just a little better. So you need to kind of monkey with it if you're making wholesale changes like portrait and landscape. And you see those in Microsoft products as well. Sometimes it just doesn't look good anymore once you've changed it. You can put borders around your pages. You could put a medium, let's just make it aggressive, this little red border. And then you could see what that looks like when you preview. So let's generate some random values and preview that report. And we should see a medium red border encapsulating everything. So if your color scheme is a blue or something like that, you can have borders showing your reports. Sometimes this frames up reports nicely. I know I have a lot of boxes on the inside, but this is a great way so that you can show your client colors on there as well. I'm going to go here and remove that. We'll say no border, take that off. You can put headers and footers, and very specifically you can add headers and footers to specific pages as well. So let's say I want the header text to say, and you can put a token in, maybe it's candidate first and last name. So let's find that quickly. So we have first name here and last name is the same, so I'll put candidate first and last name. We'll put last here. I can put that in, and then it says use different header on the first page. You could say yes. Use different header on the last page. You could say yes, and it'll allow you to put that in. So a lot of times you might not even have a header on the first or the last page, so that's why we put that functionality in. And then you can set the header height. So it defaults to 1 inch. It's not going to look right if you put 5 inches of header in a 1 inch space, so we allow you to change that as needed. As we click finish, the visualization doesn't look that super on the WYSIWYG editor, but as we generate random values, we should be able to see something in line of the header. So we have first and last name, and you can see that appears on every page of the report, and I quickly showed you that option where you could turn that off if desired. The footer is much the same, but I just want to get rid of this. Not a big header fan. On the footer, you can do almost the exact same things if you need to add images, etc. So your headers and footers are in your page setup as well. The last thing on the settings is the report setting. You can set, when you create a report, who you want it possibly to be viewed by. Administrators and candidates are the default, but you can set up so administrators only. So even if it attempts to be assigned to a candidate, it can't be viewed. This could be very sensitive information that you would not want in the hands of the candidate, but the default is administrators and candidates. And you can also set it that at the end of an exam, that the report would show up, and it kind of explains that to you. So you could say, at the end of the exam, I want this visible. So I'm not going to do that. So that's a little bit about settings, page setup, and it once again allows you to professionalize that look so you're getting exactly what you want from a spacing, bordering, and audience perspective.